Hello students, let's start our next topic, nuclear fission. So from the binding energy per nucleon versus binding energy per the graph, you have seen already there are regions where the heavy nucleus having the greater mass number splitting up to smaller nuclei into the smaller nuclei to attain stability. There we just got an introduction regarding fission and fusion, and of course the lighter nuclei also combining together or combining with each other to get to or to gain stability, and there is an intermediate region where there are nuclei having greater stability. Do you remember that, right? So now we are going to discuss about the extreme part of the graph, that is nothing but first of all this nuclear fission, a very important one. Later we will discuss about nuclear fusion. So first of all, let us start from nuclear fission. What do you mean by nuclear fission? So the name itself speaks about the nucleus is going to undergo for fission process. That's what it is. So the phenomena in which a heavy nucleus, most probably the mass number which are greater than 230 will undergo for this. The phenomena in which a heavy nucleus, when excited, splits into two smaller nuclei of nearly comparable masses. Splits into two smaller nuclei of nearly comparable masses is called nuclear fission, and of course along with this we can have a large amount of energy too. So that was actually the simple definition if you want to speak about. And the very famous equation, when uranium 92 235 is bombarded with a slow neutron, it gives us an unstable uranium 92 236, and that will split up into barium 56 141, krypton 36 92 along with 3 neutrons along with energy gamma radiation, of course 2 of energy 200 MeV, a very famous equation which I think you might have studied in your 10th standard too, if I am not wrong, the sources of energy chapter, I think so. Okay, right. So now first of all let's start from this, how actually this entire thing we are actually considering on who started this. Okay, two scientists called they are German scientists, Otto Hahn and Strassmann. Yes, Strassmann. Otto Hahn and Strassmann, they have found that when uranium is bombarded by a slow moving neutron, that initiates this nuclear fission. So when uranium, heavy nucleus, right, 92 235 is bombarded with a slow moving neutron, that gives us these fragments, these two daughter nuclei, barium and krypton, along with the emission of 3 neutrons. Okay, and that involves, which means this nuclear reaction involves of having a very Q value of energy 200 MeV, which you can notice here. So are we clear with this? Okay ma, right. But here let us understand this entire concept properly. Okay, and most important thing is, even though you are looking like it was like uranium 92 235 and neutron are involved in this entire reaction, remember in the fission of uranium about 0.1% of mass of reactants is converted into energy. This only 0.1% of mass alone is getting converted into, all the remaining will be the same, if you understand that properly. Okay, are you getting ma? That was right, delta E equal to delta M into C square energy. So that difference of the mass, which is nothing but will be can be attained by considering this. So for this reactants, out of all this too, only 0.1% of mass alone is being converted into energy, and mass defect in the fission is nearly equal to 0.214 AMU. 0.214, shall I mention that? Anyway, in the differences we have this, so there also you can notice, but just here I will mention only 0.1% of mass will be converted into energy, and delta M mass defect in this nuclear fission process is nearly 0.214 atomic mass units, 0.214 atomic mass unit. And of course you know we have already delta M, and we can get the energy rate in the form of MeV. 0.214 into 931 is almost nearly, so 0.214, 1 AMU is 931, so 931 if you convert this, it will be nearly 200 MeV. Are we clear with this? Okay ma, and keep that in mind. This uranium 19238 or the different kind of the target, this condition whatever we are actually using 92235 needs a slow neutron. If you change the target, the projectile also will change, which means here neutrons are projectiles with which we are going to hit, while uranium nucleus are nothing but target. So keep them in mind, because later we'll discuss about the different kinds of the targets and projectiles. There you will understand. So for this uranium 92-235 we need slow neutron. If I consider some other as target instead of uranium, in the same, if I consider uranium 238, the isotope, if I consider of that, then uranium 238 need fast neutron having a minimum or optimum amount of energy, then alone it will be converted into. Okay, so are you getting the point here? And similarly for thorium it need some other kind of, plutonium needs some other kind of, radium needs some other kind of, all these are different kinds of. So projectile that can be used to bombard a heavy nucleus need not to be a neutron always. It can be a proton or a deuteron or an alpha particle, it can be many. So projectiles whatever we are actually speaking about, it can be an alpha particle, it can be a proton, it can be a neutron, and that too in the case of a neutron it can be a slow neutron, thermal neutron, fast moving neutron, or whatever it can be of. Deuterium also it can be, we can use that. So different kinds of the projectile, and all these projectiles whatever we are actually discussing about we will use basing on the target what we are actually going to use. So basing on the target we will choose this projectile. Not all the targets will use the same kind of the projectiles. So for different targets we have to change the projectiles too. Are we clear with this? Okay ma? Right. And one more point, this is important one. You can ask me that, sir, is it standard this barium krypton, which means whenever a neutron undergoes with a uranium, is it necessary that we will always get this? It's not necessarily true, which means the products which are released because of the uranium fission are not always barium and krypton. It can need not to be. They can be like strontium and xenon, and other pairs also can be possible. But the thing what you have to understand is, will this particular fission, the products or the daughter nuclei will fall into two groups. One having the atomic number in the range 35 to 43. First group is atomic number Z will fall in the group 35 to 43, and atomic mass in the range 80 to 110. And while for A 80 to 110, that is the first range, first group. The second group it can be of, the second group it can be having the different kinds of Z value. This is first group, this is second group. Now let's see this. So for that Z value for the second group it can be nearly from 51 to 57. 51 to 57, and while mass number it can be from 125 to 160. These are all the possible. So this the fission products need not to be always the barium and krypton whatever we are actually speaking about, but it can fall into the this kind of, one is having the group which is having the Z value 35 to 43 and having the mass number 80 to 110, and the second group is nothing but this atomic number 51 to 57 and mass number 125 to the other one is 160, 125 to 160 the range is. So are we clear with this? And the energy released will be in the form of kinetic energy of the fission fragments, and some of the energy will be also released in the form of gamma rays, heat energy, sound energy, light energy. I told you already, energy will be conserved, but it will be in that energy will be in the different formats. Earlier also if the nuclear reaction has to occur, it will be in the order of, so that was, so it can be in the format of kinetic energy of these daughter nuclei, heat energy, light energy, sound energy. It can be in a the different formats, and the pressure and temperature is very high in the fission process. The pressure and temperature needed are very high in this process. And let us discuss about these three neutrons which we get here. Here we got the neutrons, right? Now let's look about all these three. Okay, before that let me erase all this. So let's look at about these neutrons. Three neutrons we got, right? So more importantly we'll speak about this, because later we have a topic called a nuclear reactor. There these neutrons will play a prominent role, so that's why you have to study about them. So during the fission of the uranium-235, what we are actually having on the screen, 2 or 3 neutrons will be emitted in general, or you can call like average of 2.5 neutrons will be emitted in each fission. 2 to 3 generally, most of the cases it will be 3. So on an average you can call like 2 to 3, right? The probability is again here also the same. So 2 and 3, so the average is of 2.5. But the point is here which you have to understand, most of the neutrons out of this average 2.5 neutrons will be emitted in each of the fission event for each and every. More than 99% of the neutrons produced in the fission process are released within 10 power minus 18 second to 10 power minus 15 second. 99% of neutrons will be released in 10 power minus 18 second to 10 power minus 15 second. Do you understand the time interval there? Are you getting? So how fast do you understand that? So 99% of out of the average was 2.5, right? So average is 2.5. Out of this 2.5, 99% of the neutrons will come out in this time. Just like, and these neutrons which are emitting in this are called prompt neutrons. Prompt neutrons. What we call them? Prompt neutrons. So obviously they will come 99% out of this average 2.5, 99% of that. So now we are having out of this 99%, 1% or less will be emitted after a certain time interval of the fission process which has been taken place. After only 1% of neutrons, 1% of neutrons are delayed, or less even called less, and they are called, as they are delayed, right? So delayed neutrons. So very easy to remember them, which come promptly. We can call them as prompt neutrons. Which are delayed are called delayed neutrons. And remember, these delayed neutrons will play an important role in the running of nuclear reactor. So now you understand, right? So these lazy neutrons which are very having this 1% of or less having neutrons, they play a very crucial role in nuclear reactors. Crucial role. They will play a crucial role in the running of the nuclear reactor. We'll use them because immediately when the reaction takes place, these neutrons will come out as soon as the reaction starts. So it will be very hard for us to identify them. But there are some lazy neutrons which will be delayed after when the fission reaction process has been initiated or started, and those neutrons are called delayed neutrons, and they play a very crucial role. Are we clear with this? Later anyway we have chain reaction and all this, nuclear chain reaction, multiplication factor. There we will understand this in a very proper and detailed manner. Are we clear with this? Right. Now let us understand theory of nuclear fission. Actually this entire fission process they're having different kinds of theories. Shell theory, there are many theories, but out of them for your syllabus you are having only the liquid drop model, which was proposed by Bohr and Wheeler. Bohr and Wheeler proposed this. Bohr and Wheeler. Bohr and Wheeler. We call it as liquid drop model or Bohr-Wheeler theory, BW theory. We can call it like this. Here, according to this theory or according to this model, nucleus is considered smaller to a liquid drop. Do you remember the surface tension theory? Because when we have a surface in contact, angle of contact, all that we have represented, right? So similarly here also they compared, Bohr and Wheeler compared the nucleus just to like having a surface tension forces. So just like the molecules of a liquid drop are held together by the forces of surface tension, the nucleons in a nucleus are held together by short range nuclear forces. If an energetic particle enters into such a nucleus, it may disrupt the equilibrium of the nucleus and gives the nucleons energy to escape from the nucleus. This explains the emission of various particles by the bombardment of the target nucleus. Will be similar kind of the approach. So let me explain this properly. Let me draw once so that you will understand. Suppose if we have a very highly unstable heavy nucleus, uranium 235 we have. I am going to hit this target by using a projectile, and that is nothing but our neutron. If I hit this with the neutron, this target, it will be injected into this. The next stage is, after this, the next stage, don't confuse here, this is what I am going to hit here, and this is the next process. The next thing is, it becomes an unstable uranium 236, 35 plus 1, 236. Are you getting the point here? Okay. Now it got unstable because of the injection of, remember I want to represent this entirely in an unstable state. Now what happens to this shape? This neutron doesn't allows this uranium 236 to be in a stable, so it will be elliptical now from sphere to. Now furthermore, it makes this nucleus to be unstable and forms a dumbbell like structure, and furthermore you can see a clear boundary of the pattern. These are all the unstable states, and from there it gives us, this is the next step after this, from this entire state. Then finally it will be converted into barium, krypton along with 3 thermal neutrons. So all will be in different kinds of energies, directions, all these are all different having kind of, and anyway conservation of momentum energy all will be considered, just giving the random directions of. So did you understand? The moment when you inject this neutron into the uranium 235 nucleus, it was injected, made this unstable and distorted, the repulsive forces were increased, finally it divided. Now that's why we call it as liquid drop model. Are you getting the point here? Just like how surface tension was, right? So the excitation energy which is sufficient enough will make this spherical nucleus to be ellipsoidal, which you can notice here, and that excitation energy has came from the neutron which we have given here, right? So that was we injected, right? That was. So earlier the first thing is the nucleus is in spherical shape, later it went to the excited nucleus, and that excited nucleus was in ellipsoidal shape, and then it became to the dumbbell and then fission fragments. Are we clear with this? And this is what the theory of nuclear fission. And of course the energy of nuclear fission, which I have already stated, only 0.1% has been directed, right? That also from the mass defect 0.1% is alone converted, and that is because of the mass defect between the products or the reactants. So because of that there will be a change in the mass, and that difference in the mass will be converted into the energy. Are we clear with this? Okay ma?